Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone had a good weekend and back to Monday. So today I wanted to talk to you about Chapter 2 and parts of Chapter 3. So I'm going to talk in no particular order, probably not in the same order that the slides are laid out. I'll let you read the slides and read the chapter, but I thought I'll go through some key points and also go through some examples. I'm also going to be posting a ton of examples that covers chapter 2 as well. So chapter 2 deals with input, processing, and output, how to design a program, input, processing and output, display output with print function, comments, variable, and then reading input from the keyboard, performing calculations, more about data output. So as we go through all of that and you have gotten a good idea, let's talk about numbers. Numbers are referred to as numeric literals. There are two types, int and floats. Whole number written without a decimal point is called an int. Number written with a decimal point is called a float. So let me go ahead here and fire up Python idle. I'm also going to pin it to my taskbar and then let me fire it. Okay, so I'm sure by now everybody has had a chance to install it and work on it with some examples and do your homework as well. So as we keep talking about numbers, then there are arithmetic operators such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation. Result of a division is always a float. Result of the other operations is a float if either of the numbers is a float. Otherwise, it is an int. So you've gone through chapter 2 and you looked at print function. Print function is used to display numbers on the monitor. For example, if n is a number, print n displays always number n. The print function can display the result of evaluated expressions. A single print function can display several values. So here's an example. Each of the this example is going to give you each of the 5 arithmetic operators, right? So rather than typing on here on the greatest than the prompt here, I like opening a new file, or here new file, and then typing it in here and running it. I like that method instead of just typing right up here. So I'm going to go ahead for this example that's going to talk about all the different operations. Here it is, right? So I'm going to say print 3 plus 5 comma 3 minus 2 comma 3 times 2. Then I'm also going to say print 8 divided by 2 and then comma. So as I'm going through all of this, I have this file. I can either type it, since I already typed it because I'm not really that fast in typing. I went ahead and did it ahead of this recording, and then if I either hit F5 or I can run the module. So when I run it, and that gives me the result 5, 1, 6, 4.0, 64, and 24, right? So variables. In mathematical problems, quantities are referred to by names. Names given to the values are called variables. So names given to the values are called variables. So let's talk about another example when you're trying to look at the distance traveled, right? So here I'm going to show you a program that uses speed and the time elapsed to calculate the distance traveled. The names given to the values are called variables. So let me go ahead and open that example out. Okay, so here it is. So the first line of this program is set to create or declare the variable speed and to assign it the value of 50. Similarly, the second and third lines create and assign values to other variables itself. So I have now already created it. I've typed it. Now I've saved it. So I'm going to run it, and that should give me the result, which is 700. Okay, so I hope that that part of it is clear. Assignment variables, right? Expression on the right hand, evaluated that value assigned to that to a variable. Variable names in Python begins with a letter or underscore, can only consist of letters, numbers, underscores. We recommend at least the author and the folks from Python recommend using descriptive variable names. So the convention will be begin with lowercase, use cap for additional word in the name. Like for instance, if I'm saying rate of change. So if I'm using the variable, I'm going to open a Word document. So if I'm using creating a new variable, then it would be like this: rate of change, right? So names in Python are case sensitive. There are 33 words called reserved words or keywords have a special meanings in Python. It cannot be used as variable names, right? So if you don't have a list of it, I will get that to you. I'll post it in Canvas. So what is the abs function? That's the absolute value function. There are several common operations that can be performed on numbers other than standard arithmetic functions. For instance, we may round a number or take its absolute value. These operations are performed by built-in functions. Functions associate with one or more values called the input, a single value called the output. The function is set to return the output value, right? So here there are three functions. Okay, and the function names, like variable names, are case sensitive. So let's look at that. Okay, so you're setting a equals to 2, b equals to 3, then you have the three preceding functions. Since the expression on the right side of the assignment statement is evaluated before the assignment is made. So let's go ahead and run this. It's already saved. So there's the answer, right? So 11, 8, and 0.67. What about the int function? Like the expression could be int 2.7, the value would be 2. Int 3, the value would be 3. Int negative 2.7 would be negative 2. And then the round function in the round function expression would be 2.7, the value would be 3, round 2.317 comma 2, and then the value would be 2.32, round 2.317 comma 1, the value would be 2.3. So we looked at the example for the absolute intent round, right? So what is augmented assignments? Since the expression on the right side of an assignment value is evaluated before the assignment is made, a statement such as variable equals to var plus 1. This is meaningful. Python has a special operator to accomplish the same thing, right? Here it evaluates the expression on the right side. That is, it adds 1 to the value of the variable var and then assigns this sum to the variable var. The effect is to increase the value of the variable var by 1. In terms of memory location, the statement retrieves the value of var from var's memory location, uses it to compute var plus 1, and then places the sum in the memory location. This type of calculation is so common that Python provides a special operator to carry it out. The statement would be, the statement var equals to var plus 1. You can just replace it with var plus equals to 1. In general, if n has a numeric value, then the statement would be var plus equals to n. Adds the value of n to the value of var. The operator plus equal to is said to perform an augmented assignment. Some other augmented operators are what? Minus equal to comma, star equal to comma, slash equal to comma, and double star equals to. So there is a number of them. So let's go ahead and illustrate that different augmented assignment operators. So let me go ahead and open up another example that I already did it before. And so here n1 equals to 6. So as you can go through it, and then when we try to run it, so this has different augmented assignment operators. So I've already saved it. Now if I run it, okay, so there's your answer: 7, 2, 4, 3, and 8. Two other integer operators. In addition to the 5 standard arithmetic operators, as I discussed earlier, the integer division operator written by // and the modulus operator written by % are also available in Python. Let m and n be positive whole numbers. When you use long division to divide m by n, you obtain an integer quotient and an integer remainder. In Python, the integer quotation is noted as m//n. And the integer remainder is denoted by m%n. So as you can see here in the it's going to be I'm going to do that in an example. For instance, the expression 19 // 5, and the value would be 3, and 19 the %5, and the value would be 4, and 10 // 2, and the value would be 5, and then 10% 2, the value would be 0. So let's look at an example that converts 41 inches to 3 feet and 5 inches. Let's go ahead and convert that. So let me go ahead. You're seeing C is because I use Python Charm too. That's from NetBeans. It's also a very good, it's a better tool. There's also a free version of it. So here the total inches equals to 41. Feet is equals to total inches / 12. Inches equals to total inches percent 12. Then I'm going to print feet comma inches. So if I go ahead, if I'm going to type it from blank, I would type it and then save it and give it a name, and then I would run it. But here, okay, so it is 3 feet and 5 inches. Parentheses, order of precedence. Parentheses should be used to clarify the meaning of an expression. When there are insufficient parentheses, the arithmetic operations are performed in the following order of the precedence. 1. Terms inside parentheses, inner to outer, exponentiation, then multiplication, division, ordinary and integer, comma, modulus, and then addition and subtraction. So a good programming practice is to use parentheses liberally so that you never have to remember the order of the precedence. For instance, 2 times 3 plus 4 instead of 2 times 3 plus 4, right? So there are 3 kinds of errors. Grammatical and punctuation errors are called syntax error. Some incorrect statements and their errors, what are they? Print, like for instance, print in parenthesis 3 and then an additional close bracket. This statement contains an extraneous right parenthesis. For instance, if I say print three, so here as you can see, I have an extra additional right parenthesis. If I run it, I'm going to get an error. Then if I say 4 equals to 5, a reserved word is used as a variable. Print 2 semicolon colon 3. The semicolon should be a comma. So this one, if I try to run it, it's going to give me an error. If I say 4 equals to 5, if I run that, it's going to give me an error. If I say print and then say 2 semicolon 3, that's going to give me an error as well, because there should be a comma instead of semicolon. There are also 3 runtime errors. Errors discovered while program is running is called runtime errors or exceptions. So if I say PRIMT and then say open parentheses 5 and then close, see, this one is called, here the print is misspelled. Then if I say x plus equals to 1, comma. So here Python is not aware of the variable x. Then if I say print open parentheses 5 and then close, a number cannot be divided by 0, right? So those are runtime errors. So when Python encounters an exception, Python terminates execution of the program and displays a message such, so the last 2 lines of the error message identify the statement that caused the error and gives its type. And there is a third kind of error that's called a logic error. Such errors occurs when a program does not perform the way it is intended. So for instance, if I say average and then say average equal to and then say first num plus second num, okay, and then put that in parentheses. Oh no, I'm not, because I want the error to come out, and then say divide by 2. This one is syntactically correct. However, an incorrect value would be generated. Suppose, let's say, if I say average and then say equal to and then say first num plus second num and then divide by 2, right? So that would be fine, as long as I've defined that, right? Give it a value. Numeric objects in memory. So suppose I consider, let's say, n is equal to 5 and then n is equals to 7, right? N is equal to 5 after it's executed, and then n is equal to 7 after it's been executed. All right, so what are strings? What are strings? A sequence of characters that is treated as a single item, written as a sequence of characters surrounded by either single quotes or double quotes. String variables. Variables also can be assigned string values. Created, that's in parentheses, come into existence the first time they appear in assignment statements. When an argument of a print statement, quotation marks are not included in display. Indices and slices. Position of index of a character in a string identified with one of the numbers 0, 1, 2, and 3. I will talk more about it. If string 1, str1 is a string, then str1 in open square brackets m colon n close the square brackets is the substring beginning at the position m and ending at the position n minus 1. If I say, for example, spam and eggs, spam and eggs, right? And then say 2 colon 7, right? So that'll give you what? A, it goes between 2 and then, so S would be 1, P would be, 0, 1, 2. So going all the way, you would have between 2 and 7. If you look at it, that would be AM space and then space. Eggs would be falling outside and SP also would be falling outside. So let me show you an example. Let me show you an example. Here the program illustrates the use of indices. So let's go ahead. Let's open so here I'm going to say print Python and then print Python in quotes. I'm saying 1 there and then 5 and then 2 colon 4 and then I'm also saying string hello world. So just go through all of this and then if I run it, so it starts with 0, right? So Y would be the first one, right? And then N would be the fifth one letter, and then 2-4 would be T and H. And then if you look at the substring, hello world, and if I'm looking at where W is, that is the 6th position, and then where is X, and then I'm looking at rfind for 1, so that will be 9 and -1. What is negative indices? Python allows strings to be indexed by their position with regards to the right. Use negative numbers for indices. So here's another example. All right, here's another. And look at this is for the that illustrates negative indices. So when we run this, it should give us the negative indices. Let me run it. So Python and then NTYTH G and then M and E and then spam and egg. So spend a little time, go over this example. So when you're looking at default bounds for slices, if in the expression str1 open square brackets m colon n, one or both of the bounds can be omitted. So if so, the left bound m defaults to 0 and the right bound n defaults to the length of the string. So that is, the string 1 would be open square brackets colon n, consist of all the characters from the beginning of the string to string 1 open and close square brackets n minus 1. String concatenation. Two strings can be concatenated or combined to perform a new string consisting of the strings joined together, represented by a plus sign. So let's say, let me repeat this. Two strings can be combined to form a new string consisting of string joined together. This operation is called concatenation, and this is represented by a plus sign. For instance, good in double quotes plus bye in double quotes would be goodbye, both in double quotes. A combination of strings plus signs, functions, and methods that can be evaluated to form a string is called a string expression. When a string expression appears in an assignment statement or a print function, the string expression is evaluated before being assigned or displayed. What about string repetition? The asterisk operator can be used with strings so to repeatedly concatenate a string with itself. If str1 is a string literal or variable or expression and n is a positive integer, then the value of string 1 times n is the concatenation of n copies of the value string 1. String functions and methods. A string function operates much like a numeric function. It takes a string as an input and returns a value. The string method is a process that performs a task on a string. We have already seen here, like if you have not, find and rfind methods. These methods perform the task of locating an index. We'll come back to this. What about chained methods? So if we look at two lines of code, praise equals to good doggy dot upper open and close parentheses, number of geese equals to praise dot count, and then in parentheses single quotes g. These two lines can be combined into a single line below, right? That is the chain of two methods. That would be number of geese equals to good doggy dot upper dot count g. I will go over with an example too. Then there's the input function that prompts the user to enter data. So a typical input statement would be like if you say town equals to input open and close parentheses in double quotes, enter the name of your city colon. When Python reaches this statement, the string enter the name of your city colon is displayed, and the program pauses. After the user types the name of his or her city and then presses enter, um, presses the enter or return key, the variable town is assigned to the name of the city. If the variable had not been created previously, it is created at this time. The general form of an input statement is variable name equals to input prompt, where prompt is a string that requests the response from a user. So let's look at another example that parses a name, last name, and first name. Here the program requests a name from the user and then parses the name. When the program is run, the phrase enter a full name will appear and the execution of the program pauses. After the user uses the words, and then presses enter, the last two lines of the output are displayed. Let's go ahead and show that example. Okay, so it says input, enter full name, and here it's going to parse the last name and the first name. So let me go ahead and run this. So it's asking me enter a full name. I'm going to say Charles Kumar Edwards. So the last name is Edwards, and that's my first name. More on string functions. So here this program is going to show you the use of int, float, and eval functions. If a string 1 is a string containing a whole number, then the int function will convert the string to an integer. If string 1 is a string containing any number, the float function will convert the string to a floating point number. The float function also converts an integer to a floating point number. If string 1 is a string consisting of a numeric expression, the eval function will evaluate the expression of an integer or floating point number as appropriate. So let's look at this example that illustrates use of int, float, and eval. So if I run this, and there would be my output. So that's the first one is where the first one is the file that I am typing in the code, and then it's running it up here for me. So the int and float also works with numbers. The string function converts a number to its string representation. And what is internal documentation? Program documentation is the inclusion of comments that specify the intent of the program, the purpose of the variables, and the task performed by individual portions of the program. To create a comment statement, just begin a line with a number sign, the pound sign. So I'm going to show you an example. A line of code can be documented by adding a number sign followed by the desired information at the end of the line. You could either press Alt plus 3 and Alt plus 4 can be used in idle to comment and uncomment selected blocks of code. You could use Alt plus 3 and Alt plus 4 to comment and uncomment. Other people can easily understand the program when you comment out some benefits. You can better understand the program when you read it later. Long programs are easier to read because the purpose of individual pieces can be determined at a glance. Let's talk this through with an example. See, there's the comment there. So it's a rewrite of what the previous example that we did, but then uses documentation. The first comment describes the entire program. The comment in the third line gives the meaning of a variable, and the final comment describes the purpose of the two lines that follow it. So let's go ahead and run it. It's asking for full name, Charles Edwards. And so the last name is Edwards, first name is Charles. I'm going to post a lot of examples that's going to be helpful for you to as you go through this chapter. Line continuation: a long statement can be split across two or more lines at the end of each line with a backslash character. Alternately, any code enclosed in a pair of parentheses can span multiple lines. So this is the preferred style of most Python programmers. For instance, it will be like quotation equals to, in parentheses, well-written code is its own, then end of double quotes, plus, and then beginning of double quotation, best documentation, period, end of double quotation, and then close parentheses. Indexing and slicing out of bounds. So Python does not allow out of bounds indexing for individual character of strings, but does allow out of bounds indices for slices. For instance, if string 1 equals to, in double quotes, Python, then print string 1 square brackets open and close 7 and then close parentheses, and print what I mean by that is, if I say string 1 equals to Python, and then I say print, then if I say print then print open parentheses string 1 and then square bracket 7, if I say it like this, I'm going to get a message, right? But if the left index in a slice is too far negative, then the slice will start at the beginning of the string. And if the right index is too large, the slice will go to the end of the string, right? So if I look at string -10:10 is Python, and then string -10:3, that will be PYT, and then string 1 2:10, that would be is thon, THON. So let's talk a bit about output. Enhanced output can be produced by the print function with 2 optional arguments and the use of the format method. So if we consider statement print in parentheses value 0, comma, value 1, comma, dot dot, comma, value n, close parenthesis, then print function uses string consisting of one space character as a separator. So we can optionally change this separator to any string. If we like the sep argument. So let's use an example for that. So the following program demonstrates the use of so this is for the escape sequences. Each escape sequences or short sequences that are placed in strings to instruct the cursor or to permit some special characters to be printed. The first character is always a backslash. The 2 most common cursor instructing escapes sequences are \t that induces a horizontal tab and the \n that induces a new line operation. By default, the tab size is 8 spaces but can be increased or decreased with expand tabs method. And here's the example of it, which demonstrate the use of sequences. So backslash is also used to treat quotation marks as ordinary characters. Double backslash causes print function to display single backslash, and then backslash quotation causes print function to display double quotation mark. Justifying output in a field. Programs often display output in columns of a fixed length. The methods ljust n and rjust n and center n are used to left justify, right justify, and center string output in the field of width n. If the string does not use the entire width of the field, the string is padded on the right, left, or both sides with spaces. If the string is longer than the allocated width, then the justification method is ignored. Here I'm going to give an example that uses 3 justification methods to create a table on the top 3 home run hitters in professional baseball. The first 2 lines was added to identify the columns of the table. The first 5 columns, 0 through 4, list the ranks of the top 3 hitters, and the numbers 1, 2, and 3 are each centered in the field with a width of 5. So let me show you the example and then talk through about justifying the output. So the numbers 1, 2, and 3 are each centered in a field of width 5. The next 20 columns, column 5 through 24, holds the names of the 3 hitters, with each name left justified in a field of width 20. Each name is padded on the right with space characters. The last 3 columns, 25 through 27, hold the number of home runs hit by the players. Since each of these numbers is a three digits long, they exactly fill the field and the width 3 set aside for them. The output of this column would be the same even if the or justified method was used. So let me run this and then you can see what I'm talking about. You can also justify output with the format method. The format method is a fairly recent addition to Python that can perform the same task as the justification methods and much more. For instance, it can place thousands of separators in numbers, round numbers, and convert numbers to percentages. So here's an example that I'm talking about. So here this program produces the same output as the one I just did, but using the format method. Look at the 4th line, the formatting braces, determining the formatting of the number 1, the string Barry Bonds, and the number 762 respectively. Let me go ahead and run it. You see? I'll give you some more examples for this part. Lists, tuples, and files. So Python, when we talk about the term object, it refers to any instance of a data type. Python's core objects are what? Numbers, strings, lists, tuples, files, sets, and dictionary. The list object is an ordered sequence of Python objects that can be of any type and do not have to all be the same type. A list is constructed by writing in terms its items enclosed in square brackets with the items separated by commas. Example would be Seahawks, 2014 CenturyLink field. So let me show you an example of that in terms of what? Also using the len function. So the del function would be to remove, or the remove method is executed, right? So let's go through this example. So here we are requesting 5 grades as input and display the average after dropping the 2 lowest grades. The grades are placed in the list grades and the 2 lowest grades are removed from the list. The sum and len functions are used to calculate the average of the remaining grades. Running this, enter the first grade. I'm going to say 89. Enter the second grade, I'm going to say 77. Enter the third grade, I'm going to say 82. Enter the fourth grade, I'm going to say 95. Enter the fifth grade, I'm going to say 81. And then it should give me the average. The average grade is 88.67. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to give you a bunch of examples for what I've done, and then I'm going to continue further. I'm going to talk to you hopefully on Wednesday. I'll talk to you more about slices. I'll talk to you more about split and join methods. I'm going to talk to you about text files, and then I'm going to talk to you about tuple object, right? So how to copy a list, go through all of that. All right, so I'm going to post a bunch of examples for what I've done so far. That you'll see the text, the file that I'm creating this, and then when I'm executing, you can see the output as well. I'll post that shortly. Thank you.